Oh, I see you are learning Tableau, an industry data visualization tool. You must be using it to image some really world-changing information of importance. I mean, yes, exactly right. Yeah. What was that? Nothing? I've seen a lot of popular channels evaluate Pokemon in a series of top 10 lists, how they fit into the meta, a history of its games, and even just an art style. Well, I decided to do something a little different and take a look at how Pokemon type and stat design has evolved over 20 years of games. Mainly to save my own curiosity and because I consistently underestimate the amount of life I don't have. Yes, Sarah Bartlett, I can see how affordable tourist destinations could serve as a useful source of information. Why, Emily Chen, looking at the musical influence of the infamous composer Rachmaninoff seems like a great introspective look on our culture. I am clearly someone who has their priorities right, choosing to document Pokemon game design history and then spend the better part of a week making a video about it. And yes, I was sober during all of this. Just a quick disclaimer before we dive in. I am not a hardcore Pokemon player. I am a filthy casual who only played up to Gen 4. I did not play Pokemon competitively. I am a random internet person who likes games and entertaining people. Those are my credentials. So, because I have to use my engineering degree somewhere, this video is going to be laid out like a really ghetto scientific analysis, divided into 4 sections of data acquisition, data processing, results, and conclusions. Pokemon! Are you having fun yet? Also, knowing future me, I've probably put some timestamps here to help those with the attention span of a cat seeing a laser pointer navigate this video. Data acquisition. This one is pretty simple. Tableau Public offers a series of sample datasets with a large varying scope of subjects, from business, government, to entertainment and popular culture. From here, I found a dataset comprising of Pokemon from Generation 1 to Generation 6. Keep that limitation in mind. This stage was surprisingly easy. Thank you, Pokemon fans, for cataloging this stuff so lazy people like me don't have to. Data processing. Armed with what little I remember from first year university and a couple hours of, why the fuck isn't this working? I don't fucking know. I wonder what's for lunch. I came up with a bunch of really inefficiently written code. Look at this shit. Look at the eraser I could have used. Look at the time I could have saved. It basically filtered and sorted the Pokemon by generation and type, while also calculating averages for the stats within that generation. I exempted Mega Evolutions since they act more like power-ups, as well as additional special forms. For example, with Deoxys, I only kept his normal form. Note that all legendaries and unevolved forms are included. After outputting everything in CSV form, I then fed it into Tableau and voila! 90% of the grunt work is done. All that was left was the analysis, which was done by inspection. Data results. So the lazy thing to do would be to but on this channel, we are clearly all about delivering useful information, so let's take a look at the highlights in each graph. Regarding the number of Pokemon in each type, otherwise known as a pool, we can see that the number increases by generation as more Pokemon are introduced. Oh my god, such an unforeseen revelation. The main thing to take away from this is that apart from Generation 1, which had Poison as a popular dual type, Water has consistently been the biggest pool. I thought it was a good pun. There actually hasn't been that much change in which types are rarer than others, with some switching adjacent rankings each generation, with one exception. Since their Gen 1 stint, Poison typing has become pretty underrepresented. If you look at the standard deviation graph of the number of Pokemon added in each generation per type, god that's a mouthful, Poison is placed at the same growth rate as rare Ice, Ghost, and Dragon types. Now for the stats. The big question most people will want answered is whether or not there's a statistically observable power creep. Well, yeah. Overall, types on average have gotten stronger. Note that when I use the term power creep, I mean in the specific context of general stat type design, not with respect to competitive play, which I know fuck all about. The power creep is observable in all stats except special attack and speed, whose average has stayed strangely consistent throughout the years. I don't know if this is a conscious design decision or just a random coincidence. If we summate all of the base stats and graph the change, we can clearly see the overall stat increase, as well as a few interesting design changes, such as the simultaneous nerf to dragon stats caused by the lack of dragon legendaries, and the pseudo buff to fairies from Gen 5 to 6. Also, if it wasn't obvious before, yes, if you had to pick between the starter types, statistically speaking, fire would be your best bet, followed by water, then grass. This is of course assuming there are no mechanics at play other than my numbers are bigger than yours, so I win. Which is not how Pokemon is played, unless you're a stupid 10-year-old kid. Like I was. I overleveled my starter and just swept through the gyms. Don't judge me, you did it too. The only remaining question is which type has changed the most in terms of its stats. Well, the answer varies depending on the constraints you put on what counts as a valid change. Let me explain. If you look at the standard deviation graph of the total base stats for each type, you can see that Dark clearly has the highest because, well, in Generation 1, Dark didn't exist. So the overall spread of values will obviously be artificially inflated. So if we omit that generation, we now see 3 main leaders, Fairy, Dragon, and Ghost. Fairy's high standard deviation in this case is caused by the new Fairy type Pokemon in Gen 6 being statted higher than the selected types from previous gens that were converted to Fairy. However, technically speaking, there isn't even a spread of values, since the fairy type didn't exist until Gen 6. So, yeah, that's another one out. Ice owes its ridiculous drop from Gen 1 to Gen 2 due to the introduction of unevolved forms. And, well, the ghost types had Tina Turner in Gen 4, so that explains their inflated spread. You see what I'm getting at here? Depending how you constrain the data, you get a different result. So for the sake of having some sort of answer, and because I'm a lazy asshole, I'm just gonna cop out and say Dragon changed the most because of its ridiculous power creep stat dominance. Conclusion. So, yeah, you can say that Pokemon types in a very general sense have gotten stronger. With regards to which type has changed the most, it's difficult to say. A potential improvement to these series of charts would be the option to filter out legendaries, unevolved and fully evolved. This way, one could see the stat changes without the caveat of outliers pulling the averages up or down. It would be interesting to see just how much impact legendaries/mythicals have on their type pools. Now, I could implement this, but I'm on the final pass of the script and I've already spent too much time on this. So in true scientific fashion, this is beyond the scope of this study. For those of you who have somehow made it this far into the video, I've outputted the visualizations online on the Tableau public servers for you to look at and fiddle with yourself. You can filter and highlight a number of things using the control panel, so let me know what you find in the comments. I'm pretty sure someone who's hardcore into Pokemon can see things a casual like me cannot. All of the resources are also free to download, including Tableau, so if an incompetent internet idiot like me can do something like this over the course of 2 weeks, just imagine what someone who's actually good at this can do. I'm also fairly sure I've made some hideous oversight or mistake, which someone will undoubtedly correct me on. At the end of the day, I figured this was something cool to do for the franchise that was a big part of our childhoods, and for some of us, still play a part in our adult lives as well. Also, before I forget, Klefki, Trubbish, and Vanillice are amazing leaps forward in art design.
Man, I say the same thing every single time.